Welcome to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. This is Will Crozier.
And I'm Nikki Westcombe. We are the founders of Nexus Performance. Joining us on this wild ride is our heavyweight coaching team, ready to unleash their expertise to solve any problems in your journey to getting strong and jacked.
Through our real-world experience, we hope to break things down in a digestible, applicable, and entertaining way.
So pump up the volume and let's get into this.
That's the High School Musical version.
Ma.
Yeah, where they do like ma.
Okay.
Have you not seen?
No.
Not as much as
Sharpay
you, clearly.
Sharpay and Ryan. It's one of their practice drills.
My God.
They do like ma.
Yeah. We don't watch it every night like you, mate.
I've watched that movie. I used to watch the sing 'em dance along version. So they'd stop mid movie
So you could have a dance.
and teach you the dances. So
Oh,
I used
wow.
to know all the dances to the first one.
I'd like to see that in the
Nah,
gym.
I can't dance now.
We'll put it on the TV and
Well, you could try. Yeah.
I could try it, but I don't have a basketball.
You need the
We'll get
basketball.
one. We've got one.
Yeah, get your head in the
We've
game.
got the little one. We've got the small one in the hoop. Yeah.
It's probably the only one I'm trusted with.
In the gym, definitely. It should be softer, really.
The plush ones.
Absolutely conk some people with that.
Yeah. One of the Bowser's toys.
Well, I just got back from Townsville, the last of our trips for a while.
You and
I
Mickey?
feel like I've been fucking everywhere.
You say a
Yeah.
while, but it's like 3 weeks and then you're off again or something. 4 weeks.
That's a while at this stage.
Mm.
I
That's
feel
true.
like I've been traveling every weekend, so
It's a
yeah.
big gap.
And that's a holiday, so it's different. But yeah, been around, been to Sydney, then to Newcastle for GPC Nats, which is great, and then most recently on the weekend just gone up to Townsville for our first APL meet up there, which went really well. Lots of really, really good feedback. People loving it. People saying it was the best comp that they've been to in Townsville, in brackets. You know, so not a massive.
We set the bar high.
Yeah.
In Townsville, and then the bar comes back down just a little bit.
We'll expand. We'll get people to say it's the best comp ever. Trust me.
Yeah.
With time. But yeah, ran really smooth. A couple of little adjustments to we made from previous comps. Worked a treat, and there wasn't much that I could pick from the day that didn't go to plan. Lots of PBs.
That's good.
Lots of national records broken. Lots of just great lifting all around.
It was pretty much a whole fresh team of assistants and stuff too, yes?
Completely fresh.
Like loaders, spotters,
Yeah.
desk team, everything.
Yeah. One of the kind of veteran members of that gym, well, two of the veteran members of that gym were getting married on the same day as the comp, which meant that they, which are usually a great hand in the comps, were gone obviously, and a lot of the people that went to their wedding were gym members as well. So we had a lot of people missing, which meant that we had a completely fresh loading, spotting, platform team, which made it a little bit interesting at times, but we got there.
Kudos
And it
to
also
them.
meant completely new refs, including me. So
Yeah.
I refed the whole day for the first time.
I did
Ever?
see videos of that.
Yeah.
You looked
absolutely nailed it.
intent.
Yeah,
Like you
fucking
were
got to be,
watching.
mate.
You were there.
What am I going to do? Like, yeah, good enough, Murray. Yeah, you know.
Well, that's how it was at
press.
the strongman comp reffing because he didn't know what was going on. That was our
strongman
first.
is. I feel like it's kind of like that. Like the rules are just like they're there, but it's like
Sure. Yeah.
they're a little bit more
They're
lax.
guidelines at that point.
Yeah. Strongman is like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was my first time reffing, despite being around comps since 2015 because I've always coached. So although I had a couple of lifters in this one, they had helpers from within the gym to hand them out, and I kind of took one flight off to help. But for the rest of the day, squat, bench, and deadlift, I was full on reffing in the zone.
Well, it's a
for
good
sure.
thing you
Had to
did.
do these ones a lot.
Yeah.
Were you head ref?
I was head ref, I was side ref, I was doing all the refs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ref in all positions. It's a good thing you did your APL ref course and
Yep.
passed with flying colours the
Absolutely.
second time.
100% second time, yeah.
Did you pass yours?
100% second time. You haven't passed yours?
Still haven't done it. So, still a massive.
I'll remember that the
Still
next time I
X.
come to you for APL powerlifting related questions.
I've been, all the comps I've pretty much been to are APL.
You should have passed with flying colours.
I haven't even attempted it yet.
Oh, yeah,
there we
so
go.
I haven't even opened it.
Classic.
Mm.
It's
I fully
homework.
forgot about it.
Josh doesn't do homework.
Well, we are. Well, let us know. Let us know when you get to
I'll
it.
pass it 100% first go. You will.
Oh,
I'd
not
like
a
to
chance.
see
You
that.
watch.
I'd
I
like
will.
to see that.
Righto.
No chance.
Just, I'd bet on it, but I'm Got no money.
Yeah,
That's a smart bet.
the most important part was that Mickey got less than me on the first attempt. So like that takes the pressure off. You know what I mean? Yeah, but there were a lot of trick questions. Not actually, trick questions is bad. They're not purposely in there to trick you, but like just kind of like questions where I'm like,
It's just Thomas at the back end.
Yeah, it's changing answers.
Rewording.
There are some revisions coming to the rule book, as far as I'm aware. So we might all have to take it again. Who knows?
Good.
I'll just wait for that.
Yeah, I actually had a lot of fun reffing. I had a lot of, like as you said, pretty intense because you have to be, because you feel like if you get something wrong, like if I just like go into La La Land when somebody's got the bar in their chest and bench press and you like give them the longest press call, you feel really bad. So yeah,
It's not like you to go to La La Land either.
no.
You're normally pretty on the ball.
Well, there was a lot of it in between attempts,
Mm.
and then I would forget to do the old
Yep.
platform ready, and then
right.
somebody's just standing there. And I'm like, oh yeah, fucking yeah, it's ready, mate. Yep. So
That's why.
Yeah, come on, bro. No, over
hurry
here.
up, hurry up! I already said it. What are you talking about?
That's why I got Mickey there, just to give you the little nudge.
Well, she was on the mic, so she just saw that things were ready, and she just like did it.
Yeah. Okay. That's
So who was head judge?
Hey?
Mickey or Will?
Wiki.
No,
Both. It was
definitely
Mickey.
me. But
That's good.
yeah, I actually enjoyed the reffing. I enjoyed it. I thought it was is a bit of a different chair to be in.
That's cool.
It made me think, because like there were, I don't want to say high pressure moments, but then you're like, oh, maybe it's red, maybe it's borderline. You have to make those calls.
I remember when I did it for Deadlift for Dogs year 1.
Yeah.
And it was a novice fun event, and I was still scared. I'd like look over to Ash and be like,
You can't do
what
that.
are your thoughts?
Yeah.
But you can't do that at I can't turn around to
Yeah.
the other judge and be like, hey man, what do you think on that one?
Yeah.
Can't brainstorm ideas.
Well, that's definitely not how you want it either.
No.
'Cause it's meant to be. That's why there's 3 people and it's the
Yeah,
best
that
of
makes
3.
sense.
Yes.
So yeah,
Not the collective of 3 making a decision.
No.
Yeah.
yeah. So there were a lot of you just have to make your best decision. And if it is borderline,
What does the rule state?
take it either way. As in like if
Is it
I'm
not
calling it
supposed to be
red
in the
and they
favour of the
call
lifter?
that's benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're not sure, then obviously, yeah, if you can't see or whatever. But if I think it's reds and they think it's whites on the other side, that's literally the whole point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 2 out of 3 at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's been me. What about you? What have you been up to, Josh?
Work and more work.
Yep.
Went up to Cairns. By the time this comes out, probably like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But from this recording, it was like 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Went up there for a workshop at Believe Fitness, which is run by Kai and Shane Pugh up there in Cairns, North Queensland. And yeah, it was pretty sick. It was just a deadlift workshop. The boys wanted to get me up there to essentially run their members through just a little bit more of an intricate and in-depth evaluation on deadlifting, technique advice, adjustments, and things like that. Like they got a pretty good crew up there. They got a good little setup. That gym is sick, and they're just expanding like crazy quick. And yeah, they just wanted to give their members a little bit of further education. So flew me on up there, and I got to hang out there and just run people through deadlifts.
Because it's more of a group fitnessy type gym, yeah?
It's a little bit more of like, so their background is more F45 and probably more CrossFitty, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, so very group fitnessy, like a bit of a combination of everything, trying to implement strength amongst that in the mix as well. And yeah, they have an amazing community up there. Like everyone, all of their members froth it. Like they've got quite a few members, and they absolutely love it. So it's good for them just to get a little bit of different.
This is
perspectives.
Shane Pugh, as in Jasmine Pugh's dad. Yeah, that's dope. Jasmine
Yeah.
was one of our members here for a
One
while.
of our members who rocked up and, hey, this is Jazz. She's competing in 2 weeks. She's your client.
Good luck.
Oh, oh, good.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's actually how I met Kai at her first at Jazzy's first competition, and then through the whole process of coaching Jazz, I met literally the whole family.
Yep.
So we're all besties.
They come as a unit.
Yeah, they're literally like the most family I've ever met in my life.
Yep.
It's like one in, all in. They're pretty big community members up there in Cairns, like within the fitness space. Like everybody knows them. They go and compete in like the deadlift comps as a family, and like they all get around it and they love it. Yeah, it's sick.
Right.
Yeah.
Good little experience. Fun to get up there and sort of
The first seminar on your own.
first seminar on my own. It was good
Let you
experience
out
to
into
get
the
up.
wild.
Yeah, I was let to run free.
Yep.
It was good.
Did you wear Nexus gear?
I had the same singlet on.
Just making sure.
I had the
I
same.
love how the manager Alex comes out there.
I had the exact same singlet on that I've got on now.
Good. I hope you washed it.
No. Why would I? You guys wash your clothes?
Smell good.
But no, yeah, it was good. Yeah, first little workshop on my own. Obviously shit myself for the first maybe 5 minutes. And then I just cracked some jokes and bullied some of the members.
Loosened up.
Hit any,
and it was good to go.
Any
Perfect.
seminar PBs? People walking
Like
out with PBs?
4 or 5 people.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I love
it was
it.
sick.
Hey, I'm here to learn. And then by the end, they're just like full, like
They were just maxing out.
Grind
grind
reps.
of rep.
And
you're just
then
like, yeah, that's good. That's exactly
half
how
of
you do it.
them gave up, wanted to go learn muscle ups and stuff. And then,
Yeah.
it was good. It was just something fun to do.
Very
Yeah, I
nice.
heard there was an impromptu muscle up seminar.
Yeah, that sucked. My elbows did not like me.
How many did you get?
Callie at 117 is not the same as Callie at 70 kilos. Unfortunately, I didn't do any muscle ups. I was just teaching them how to get up on top of the bar.
Okay.
And from just that alone, my elbows were just fucked.
Yeah, I would ask you how to explain that, but we don't care. So
How to do muscle ups?
Yeah.
People do care. Don't you have a client of yours who
We
wants to learn how to
don't
muscle
care.
up?
That's what we're saying.
I'm going to teach
Our
Will how to muscle up.
audience. I'd like to see that actually.
I
Yeah.
could
We should do one of those
Yeah.
like videos where they have, when they get like Eddie Hall and stuff to get them to go do like real dumb shit in the gym.
Yep.
It's going to be me teaching Will how to muscle up.
We'll do a Nexus field trip down to the Burleigh bars.
easy work.
Probably break a few of them.
Council's going to be down there barricaded
Yeah,
off.
they're like, no more powerlifters.
Sorry, boys,
coming to
not-
the bars.
Not today.
Underestimate. They'll be easy. I'll smash it. But anyway,
Can you do pull-ups?
yeah, they're fucking easy. Easy. What do you can get at least? How many do you reckon you need to do to be able to do muscle up?
At least minimum 10.
Yeah, I could do 10.
Mm.
I'll bang him out.
At least for the muscle up, it's still in the sagittal plane. So Wilbo's, he's got that
It
covered.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you,
could make
get
it
to
happen.
kick with a muscle up too. You get a little bit of like
That's
a,
CrossFit. They don't count. CrossFitters kip. You're not supposed to kip if you do calisthenics.
Oh, right. Here's the rules.
Okay.
Fuck. All right. No,
It's more of a
move
rigid-
on.
Yeah.
That's already way too much Cali talk for our podcast.
Yep.
We've
lost
attracted new
exceeded the quota for sure.
Yep, we won't have that discussion for another couple of months now. But what else is going on? We've got the novice comp at Townsville, the Northern Novice. Is that what we're calling it?
Yep.
Is there Northern Novice?
Northern Novice.
Northern Novice of the 18th of November.
Mm.
So there's still time to sign up and jump into that one, or at the very least get down and support, new lifters getting into the sport. That's why we run the novice comps. We want new people to come to these events and to get a good taste for powerlifting, get a good experience. And novice comps, especially as we've seen here at the Gold Coast gym, have been very effective to do so. And everyone has a great time. We actually just got a hand on the comp photos from Deadlift for Dogs this year, and they look fucking sick.
Yeah.
They look sick.
Epic.
We've got so many of them.
Yeah.
He's actually done really well. I don't think he's done this on purpose, but the amount of photos totaling up for all of the day comes to 2023, the year 2023.
Yep.
Got one photo for each year of the.
We
the
definitely do that on purpose.
Definitely not.
If you know how he would know if he did do that on purpose, if there was just like fuckloads of filler ones in there, like he got to 1800, and he's like,
And there's just repeats.
yes,
There is a few.
okay,
They
Yeah.
repeat, but they're black and white.
okay, that's right.
Different
I'll take that.
aesthetic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Changes the vibe a bit. That look great.
The last thing that I want to mention before we jump into today's topic, which is all about sleeves versus wrapped squatting, programming, technique,
Transitioning.
mental game, blah, 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 everything about that. Before we get to that, just want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, dedicated listeners, Josh's mum. We know that it's up on the TV at home right now. She's loving it.
Yep.
Just thought, we love our listeners and we got told that, keen
Mum just
listener-
throws it up on the big screen, apparently.
Yeah,
She'll
that's
just
great.
message me like,
Apparently.
I was
So
just-
this is how you know she's telling the truth or not.
yeah, yes. Mum, you better listen.
Right in.
Listen and watch on the YouTube
Fill
HD.
in the feedback form, but only positive feedback.
Yes. Let us know how we're
Oh,
doing.
fuck, if your mum's giving you negative feedback, you're
I'm
I
pretty
liked
sure
it,
she
but-
commented on the video. I'm pretty sure she created a YouTube account
Mm.
to comment on the video,
Yeah.
like of my very first podcast,
love that.
and just say like, "That's my boy" or something.
Yeah, good.
Like, just
That's great.
just a classic mum type of move. That one.
Love that.
Excellent.
Yeah, love that stuff. Expect a few comments on this video for sure. So let's get into it. Programming and coaching differences for sleeve versus wrapped squats. Now, something that comes up quite a bit, especially as things have evolved. When I first started, actually before I started powerlifting, the reason I didn't kind of do powerlifting at the start and kind of went down more of the bodybuilding route was, well, it just wasn't a big sport, but for reasons as I'm about to say, and that is that it was mostly equipped lifting. And my friend Tyler, who I trained with, he had done equipped lifting. He has a suit and he had the knee wraps and he had the whole get up, did low bar and all that. And I was just like, not about that. I did not want to squeeze into that thing. Did not want to have a part of it. I just, it's just too hard. And it still is still the reason I haven't done it. I'm just like, I'm not swinging out of a squat rack to get into my squat suit for 20 minutes before training. But not to say I don't respect it. It's just not for me.
It's a different level.
Yeah. Then when I started competing was really when Raw started to take over. And it's done great things for the sport. It's allowed that barrier to entry to be lowered a lot. So even just going from like no suit into just like your soft suit or your whatever your clothes with, at that time it was like still had knee wraps on. And that's what the majority of the competitions were when I started. And then these days I would have no idea of the numbers, but I would say like that sleeved squatting, like sleeved like raw competitions are the dominant. You know, I think
100%.
a lot of the wrapped lifters from before have transitioned into sleeves. If you go to even our comp on the weekend, you know, the APL up in Townsville, I would say more people were in sleeves, lifting in sleeves. Still a bunch in wraps, but definitely less than there was back in 2015. So I actually did my first comp in sleeves. I remember my coach saying to me at approximately, I don't know, it would have been like 2 months out or something. She's like, are we going to do this in wraps or are we going to do this in sleeves? And I was like, I don't know, the appeal of like squatting more, I guess, is kind of cool. In wraps, I think that's why most people do it. Is like, cool, I want to squat more.
Sure.
Awesome. But at that point, I'd only ever squatted in sleeves for my entire life, and I knew how to squat in sleeves, and I was like, let's just stick to this. Let's just stick to this, not throw another variable in at the end that might mess up things. And it went well. But then when I got the comp, I realized that everybody else was in wraps. I think I was literally the only person in sleeves in my flight.
Wow.
Sick. Which was still fine. Still went really well. But like, you know, looking back on it, I was like, oh. And then for the second comp, I ended up doing Pro Raw 7. And Pro Raw 7 was obviously quite a step up in terms of like competitiveness and the numbers that were people.
So Pro Raw 7 was your second comp ever?
Yeah. I was meant to do a nationals.
Yep.
I was meant to do a nationals, but I pulled out like the day before because my back screwed up in prep, but I prepped for it. But yeah. Pro Raw 7 ended up being my second comp ever. And then, well, step up, man.
Just get better.
I'm fucking trying.
Put the suit on.
I'm going to. Can you imagine how much I'd bitch if I had to wear a suit?
Yeah, for sure.
We don't need that in the gym.
Imagine me swinging
That's
from
banned.
the mono for 30 minutes.
Man, Jesus Christ. We get another bend in it.
You and Polkov can hang out. But
He hangs upside down from the rack, and I'd be hanging the other direction trying to get in my suit.
Yeah, best buds. I did Pro Raw 7, and I wore wraps for that. I decided, hey, this is way harder. Like the competition level is a lot higher, and I'm super competitive. So I was like, I'm not going to let these people beat me.
Wraps it is.
Well, I'm going to try anyway. Yeah, these cheaters. So like, so I put wraps on, and I remember looking back at the videos. I should pull them up, but like there's like half a meter of wrap hanging out the bottom.
Oh,
like
good.
Half tight, like not even.
Were you doing them yourself?
Tyler did them.
Okay.
But collectively, we had absolutely no idea what we were doing, and we were just winging it. And I remember Thomas actually being at that comp, Thomas Lilly, that is, and he just came over and he was like, I just remember like this disapproval in his eyes, or like a shake of the head, and I was like, what? Now looking back on it, I know those eyes well.
Because you give them yourself.
Yeah, sometimes I go to comp and I'm like, what is this guy doing? But that was me, for sure. But that transition I did from that first comp in sleeves into competing in wraps was I remember quite there were some difficulties for sure.
I like a similar thing. I remember when it's like the first ever comp I did was sleeves, and basically I was worked out. And I'm like, I'm weak, so I'm going to be a cheater. and I'm going to go to wraps. And I was like, nah, this is it. I'm going to wraps. I want to squat 300. That's it. That's all I care about, squatting 300.
Yeah.
Still haven't done it, but I will soon. Just wait.
Soon.
Hopefully by the time this podcast drops. Probably not.
Jeez.
That's a quick peek.
Absolutely.
Yep. Just max out. No, but that transition in itself, I remember I would rock up, and the first like couple of weeks, I would train at 0 on a Sunday morning, like 7 a.m.
Yep.
So I had to self-wrap for the first like 3 weeks because there was no one else there.
Yep.
I had no idea what I was doing. I think I watched one Sebastian Oreb tutorial and the Nexus tutorial.
Yep.
Perfect.
And I tried to take the best out of 2 of those. The only reason I watched the Bass one is because he was self-wrapping.
Okay.
Whereas the Nexus one was
me wrapping Zach.
Getting wrapped. Yeah, Zach getting wrapped. So I was like, all right, this is going to work. And then I don't know, I fucked it. And then I just started training on a Thursday because Henny would wrap me the whole prep.
Yeah, well, there's not much you can, once you learn a technique or whatever, like there's not really that much you can fuck up.
You can't really fuck it up, no.
It's at the end of the day, it's a piece of elastic that you are spiraling around your knee in some fashion.
As tight as you can.
Yeah, and as long as you are somewhat consistent with it and don't go halfway up your leg, I see that a bit. You know, the old fucking half thigh wrap.
Oh, good.
Or half calf wrap. And then, spread that shit out. But as long as you're keeping it kind of a couple of centimeters either side of the kneecap and nice and tightly wound consistently in that area, the pattern is well overrated. So as long as you're going with that in mind, you should be sweet.
Yeah, well, even just like in the last 3 weeks alone, 4 weeks even, I've had 4 different wrapping techniques.
Yep.
And none of them have made a single difference. Like I've still just squatted.
Except my one that didn't really cover the knee.
Yeah, we're not going to include that one. That
yeah.
5.
We'll go into techniques and wrap that a little bit more.
That was interesting.
That was me just letting Josh know that I didn't want to do it for the rest of the afternoon.
That was me trying to get Darren to learn how,
That's right.
And then Alex doesn't even wrap, and I like walk over and I'm like, I can't squat with this, and then walk and sit back down again.
Just wanted to extend out his session a bit.
Yeah,
like I need to extend them. They're 4 hours.
But for me, one of the mistakes I made when first coming into it, I remember was what I watched other people on Instagram or whatever the thing was at the time, and looked at these other like top end lifters, and then looked at like what knee wraps they were wearing, and then that's how I made the decision as to like get my first pair of knee wraps, which ended up being a pair of wraps that you can't get anymore, strangulators, and they were called.
Sound really healthy and really wholesome.
Yeah, they were. I mean, not the stiffest wrap out there, but they were pretty stiff and pretty coarse. Like they were, and yeah, probably wasn't the best wrap to learn on. I remember like just either self wrapping or getting Tyler or Elias at the time, another guy who trained with up in Cairns, and they would wrap me, and then I would literally like just hate it, and then stand up, try to walk it out, and then because we didn't have monos up in Cairns, and then I would just kind of do a quarter squat and be like, nah, this is not too hard, hurts too much, fuck this. And then that was my first experience with it. I tried to like just grit my teeth and force my way through it for a bit, but then after a few weeks, I decided, surely this isn't it. Like, surely everybody's just not like just hating it as much as me right now.
But they are.
And there was a transition. But like if I wrapped my knees now with them, I'm sure, I would know what to expect and probably handle a little bit better. But I actually got advice to try some softer wraps, some more stretchy soft wraps, which were, I think, Inza INZs, which are a pretty friendly wrap, pretty much nicer on the skin, a lot more stretchy. Tried them out, and it was a million times better. And they're the ones that, if you go and watch the videos from Pro Raw 7, that I squatted in for that comp.
Yeah, okay.
But I just had to get, like I said, half of it was on the floor. So we didn't really get the most out of them. But I guess that's my first bit of advice to people is like, you don't have to go straight to the most cast, rigid knee wraps out there. Like there are more stretchy, like softer versions to kind of like. And trust me, like I wore NZZ. I wore them for not only that comp, but a few comps more. A lot of people will call them like quote unquote beginner wraps, but trust me, you get them tight enough, like you crank those things on and get 15 revs or whatever the hell you can get out of those really stretchy ones. They still hurt, and they still hurt a lot. But they're a nice learning one because you can kind of go a little bit softer and they'll still do something. Whereas if you get a really, really cast wrap that doesn't have much stretch in it, it's either you go really tight and it works really well, or like it's barely on your knee. Like it's much harder to kind of get like a quote unquote soft wrap in a really cast wrap.
That was going to be a question that I asked, because you guys obviously have a shit ton more experience squatting in wraps and wrapping knees just in general. But like if you have someone who is being introduced to wraps for the first time, like is it a less aggressive approach when you wrap them? Do you opt, like you said, for the softer wrap and then kind of work your way? Like what is the kind of best approach?
If you've got a new client coming to you asking you for advice on getting into knee wraps, what are you going to?
The way I tell my clients they're not allowed to squat in knee wraps.
Make your job easier.
Because I hate wrapping.
Oh, here he is.
I don't do that. If you want to squat in wraps and you're my client, go for gold. My elbows will just hate you.
Yes.
But no, so like Flick, for example, so when she first transitioned to wraps, because we were transitioning a few years back into wraps, she just bought, I think they're like the base level Titan ones. I don't know what they're called, the actual name of them.
Are they the blue, grey, and black ones?
Yeah, but not the... So Honza's got those ones.
Yeah, they're pretty soft.
And then there's the gold ones, which is like
step up.
The step up, the hardest ones.
Yep.
I think there's one below that.
Okay.
I think.
There's a million wraps.
Yeah.
For people
there's
who are listening,
so many wraps. But anyway, she started with those, and we used those for her first 3 comps in wraps.
Yeah.
And she hated them. The other night, she bought a fresh pair of Lily Bridges, which is the wraps that I also use. Fresh, brought them out of the bag that night, and I did not have to even remotely like slightly put any tension in them, and they were tighter than her previous wraps without any force and like heaps of overhang and stuff like that. So for her, we used like a softer wrap just because that's what she wanted to use for the first few times. It's kind of what the client will buy as well, because I found nowadays wraps aren't really that cheap.
No,
like wraps are reasonably expensive.
Well,
I think those gold type ones are like 100 and something.
Okay.
Well, the Lily Bridges are like 100 and something as well.
Yeah.
So I guess it comes down to the financial commitment too. Like I don't want to go tell a client, you have to go and buy the soft pair, and then you have to buy the step up, and then you have to buy the step up on top. Sure. Like it's, you know.
And it's not even a step up. Like that's probably the wrong phrasing.
It's the the coarseness, how rigid they are.
Yeah, it's a preference. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Sure. There's no way that like this one's absolutely better than that one.
I got the same Lily Bridges that I got donated by Andy Davis way back in the day. I remember the first week I was transitioning into wraps.
Yeah.
And I was at EMF, and Idan and Andy strolled in on a Sunday morning, and there's me, and I found these random crappy, like the shittest wraps ever. Someone just left them at the gym.
Yeah, ones with Velcro on them?
Yeah. And so I just took them,
good ones.
and I was like, fuck yeah, I got wraps. And I was like, put them on, and Andy walked in, and Idan just started laughing at me, and I was like,
I know the exact words they would have said. Can't repeat here.
Yeah. They basically just laughed at me, and then Andy's like, hold tight, mate.
Yeah.
Went out to his car, got me his set of Lily Bridges, and gave them to me. I've worn the same ones ever since. So they were pretty worn in by the time I got them.
I was going to say, you probably should have. I mean, not to say that you have to do this, but every single comp I did, like from Pro Raw 7 all the way through to like COVID, I wore a completely fresh pair for every comp.
I've had the same pair every single time for like 3 years.
They do stretch.
2 years.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'd probably look at new ones, but whatever.
Like they do. Basically, the more, if we're talking like the softer, stretchier ones, the ones that have a lot more like stretch in them, like the INZs, they kind of like get worn quicker because like it's like holding an elastic band like really long. Like eventually they lose a little bit of that elasticity. Whereas the really rigid like cast ones, you can't stretch them as far, and they tend to hold that for a little bit longer. So if you're more stretchy wrap, you're gonna have to be replacing that a little bit more frequently. But I don't know. I didn't want to leave anything to chance. So but you definitely don't have to do it. They do last longer as you've found.
I could probably buy a new set of Lily Bridges if I wanted to, but I'm just cheap.
We've got some really nice Pioneer ones downstairs if you want to try those.
Okay.
Yeah, we have
No.
some really pretty much. I'm pretty sure they're like the kind of the new version of the strangulators. They're just cardboard.
They feel like cardboard was laid with sandpaper.
Hans
Yeah,
pulled
yeah.
out a set
So
the other
good.
day. They're the Titan Gold ones. And these things, like, he's a pretty tough dude.
Mm.
And I watched him grimace
Mm,
and, like, cower as he squatted into them
mm.
and did exactly as everyone does on their very first time, like, half squat kind of thing.
Yeah, bail it out.
And I just watched him and I was like, he's like, oh, do you want to try them? I was like, fuck no. Like, why would, no. I don't hate myself that much. And then he did it the next 2 sets and absolutely nailed it. Like,
yeah.
But I was just like, fuck, I just didn't realize.
They build them different over in the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Lots of ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about, so to give like Flick, for example, like this, the newer people that you're coaching, when they're going from sleeves or just raw to wraps, is there a difference that you'll coach for their squat pattern or like a
Yes.
way that they'll go into it?
Slightly. And I tend to tell people, and this is
From a technical perspective.
Yeah, this is completely probably anecdotal more than anything, but I have seen quite a few other people come out with similar thought processes around it, and that is to squat into the wrap.
Okay.
So that's more or less, I guess, you could quote unquote, like, say, squat into your knees a little bit more.
Mm.
Because what I tend to find is when people transition from sleeves into wraps, even the people, like the newer age people who use the, like, fancy sleeves.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, these are so tight.
Yeah.
You put a set of wraps on them, they're like, oh, fuck. Like, this is still a massive difference.
Yeah, it hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I find the first thing they do when they squat is they just sit straight backwards.
Stay away
They
from it.
do not go into the wrap at all.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I didn't really feel like I got much out of the wrap. And you're kind of like, well, you're not even squatting into the wrap. You're doing a good morning.
I still do that a little bit when it gets, like, say I've programmed like 5 sets of wrap squats. Like on that fourth.
Do you hate those people?
Like, well, when I used to do it, like on the fourth, and I don't usually do that, but usually on the fourth, like the more sets you get into it, the more just kind of like irritated your skin is.
Yeah.
And so like it progressively kind of hurts more and more each set.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. And
It's not one of those ones that, like, the more you do, the better it gets.
That's where I
The
thought
more
he
you
was
do,
going.
no,
but I
the
was,
more you do, the worse it gets.
it does
Yeah.
on a week-to-week basis, but like on an acute
Intra-session.
in the in the session. No,
We'll talk about that in a second. I
yeah,
reckon.
yeah.
yeah.
Actually go into that a little bit more.
But by the fourth, fifth set, well, like the last set where my knees are already like red raw and I'm trying to like wrap these things on top of my knee, it's like what feels like on top of sunburn or whatever. It's just horrible. And then I know that set's probably going to, plus just the fatigue in general.
Yeah.
But like that set's always a little bit more good morning-y for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like what I find is that first transition is exactly that. So although it's not, when you're teaching someone how to squat, you don't necessarily say, okay, I want you to break at your knees and squat, drop into your knees, because a lot of the time that's going to throw their pattern out. But when they are using wraps, I found that that's a pretty effective cue to use to get the most out of the wrap, but it also just keeps them in that position a little bit better.
Yeah.
Keeps them over that midfoot a little bit more rather than like sitting all the way back or dropping too far forward as well.
So they might initially just kind of feel to stay away from them, but you're just cueing them a little bit more.
Just
into
a little
the knees
bit,
to keep them a little bit more in the right spot.
Yep.
It's the same as it. I mean, like whenever we're looking at not only squats, but any pattern, we have this picture in our head of like what we want it to look like, like what the ideal squat is going to look like. And then all of our cues, maybe our programming, exercise selection is going to be based around hopefully moving that person towards that. So if they're really on their heels and their toes are coming off the ground, I'm probably going to tell a person, hey, be a bit more on your toes. And if they're on their toes a lot, I'm probably going to tell them, hey, be a bit more on your heels.
Yes.
The goal is to be, obviously nice and even. So that's with the wraps there. That's all you're doing is like you're going like, hey, you're probably going to want to. This person's going to avoid their knees a little bit, so I'm going to cue them to try and get them back to the center. Because
exactly.
I teach in the mentorship like they shouldn't look like they shouldn't be different. Like they're both a squat. Like the rules are the same as far as like just general biomechanical sense of like it's just that now that we've got this cast around our knee joint that is acting like just an extra quad, like it's just something to help us extend our knee, which obviously gives us more drive, especially like out of the bottom of the squat. So it's going to add kilos to your lift, but just because we want it to look exactly the same or look very, very similar to the sleeve one. Obviously, like things like that, where they're avoiding it is going to mean that we might have to cue them slightly different or program them slightly different to get that same result.
Yeah.
So it's not that you should be aiming to be a more quad dominant squat. It's just
No.
not going to happen. But you're aiming for the same thing, but you might need a little bit more, just to think about it slightly differently to achieve that.
Yeah, it's the same as like, it's like there's definitely cues that some people will use that as coaches we kind of get a bit of an understanding about what they mean, whereas like a general population person may not. So one that I would say is super common is like this is completely different to reps, but if a gen pop person says I want to tone up, as coaches we understand that like toning is not really a thing. What the person wants to do is build muscle, drop body fat. So we understand that, but that's just how they understand it. So if we sort of say to someone, okay, although I don't want you you're not going to turn around and be like, okay, I don't want you to actually drop into your knees, but I want you to go into your knees a little bit more because you're now using the reps. That's not what you're trying to get out of it. It's quite literally, okay, we're just going to try and just aim to hit the knees just a little bit more so they can just feel that squat. And if you actually look at their squat, it's the exact same thing they've been doing for every other time in sleeves and things like that. But it's just keeping them in that position we want them to actually get the most out of the reps.
Yeah, for sure. There is a difference in mental that you would get people to approach the squat differently. Do you think?
I always tell them nothing changes.
Yeah,
nothing changes at all.
Heavy's heavy.
Heavy's heavy. Like regardless if you're in sleeves, bare knees, the tightest wraps of your life, nothing changes from the first second you go to step under that bar. It's no different to you saying when you go under your first weight versus your top set at a comp. It's the same shit. Same way you grab the bar, same way you brace, same way. Like obviously the intensity of that exercise is slightly different from the bar to a top set, but nothing changes in terms of the actual setup.
Yeah, I was going to say like it's obviously like a super maximal load to some extent.
Yeah.
As much as like if I'm doing a proper RP10 wrapped squat, that's a weight that without those wraps, I literally just couldn't do. So like my body is not physically capable of lifting that on its own. Which means that you want the quad. Your quad should hopefully be the failing point in a squat if you're doing it right. But so it should theoretically make your squat go up a fair bit more, and that's why most people get a bit out of them. But if your low back or something else is given out first, it might not give you quite as much because you're strengthening the knee extension when maybe your low back or your brace. So everything else, like your upper back tightness, your bracing, everything else that needs to transfer that power up into the bar needs to be really good to get the most out of wraps.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I don't think anything sort of changes from that. Like it's same thing, midfoot balance, upper back tension, bracing.
Yeah.
Stays the same.
So you would stay the same. So you'd obviously say that when we're talking people transitioning to wraps as well, that you obviously want a great deal of experience squatting and being good at squatting before we introduce something like the wraps. If we're talking about it from a super maximal perspective, it's like, we'll make sure you can do the squat really well and have these other muscle groups and things not as the rate limiter. Is that what we're talking about there?
I would say yes, but I've also seen the other end of the spectrum where people aren't great squatters, i.e. so they're not very strong.
Yep.
They may be newer to squatting, and their coach has just gone and put them in wraps because they're like, oh, you can squat heavier with these.
Right. So
instead of like them more or less getting the foundation of breathing, bracing, how does it feel? What does a fucking heavy set feel like? All of that stuff. They kind of just like put the training wheels straight on and they're like, hey, we're going to squat way more straight away.
Sure.
I've seen it pay off for some people and I've seen it not pay off for other people. So it's hard.
Well, it is going to make you squat up regardless.
Yeah, you're not going
to hit, like your ceiling's not going to be as high as what it could be.
Yes.
Yes. You're going to be limited by something else.
Yep. Cool.
The programming differences. Spoke about it slightly there, but I'm not sure. Is there anything that you think that you would program differently for a person squatting in sleeves versus a program?
I'm mindful of the volume. I'm very mindful of the volume because, as we already discussed, multiple sets in wraps fucking sucks. And if you've got someone who's new to wraps, like when I first put someone into wraps ever, it's one set.
Okay.
Maybe one warm up just to get like a lighter wrap.
Yeah.
Give them a little bit of a base to be like, okay, this is sort of what it feels like. With the next one, we'll go a bit tighter, and that's it.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
just my
easing
personal
in a little
preference.
bit.
That's what I found works well. That's what I even enjoy doing
Yeah,
myself.
there's arguments to both sides because I can see that. I can also see that, like,
From a skill perspective, I could see
more
justification for doing way more sets. Absolutely, yeah,
doing more set to get better at the thing.
100%.
But you would have to, you have the consideration is around like do they have somebody wrapping them? How tight are they going? Like if I'm,
is it consistent?
Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, for more experienced people, I would definitely do less wrapped squats in a program than sleeved, and usually a combination of the two for that reason. Like I might do wrap squats on one day and sleeve squats on a different day on a second exposure, or I might have wrap squats followed by some sleeve squat sets. The layout doesn't matter exactly, but like we still need to achieve a total squatting stimulus to get better at squats, B, build some muscle potentially around it, like all the things that make us put more weight on that bar. So we still need to achieve that. We can't just like go 2 sets of, we're in wraps now, so we only need 2 sets versus you were in sleeves. So to get better at squatting before you needed 8 sets, whereas now you need fuck all. Like it doesn't, the stimulus still needs to be achieved.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, you're right. Like the consideration is as you go on, like your knees are going to get more shit, like beat up. And then so if your 5th set ends up looking like garbage, like I said, is it worth doing that? And is it maybe a better idea to maybe do that on a different day, or to wear sleeves and use a slightly lower load to achieve the stimulus? Like it's just have to consider that. So usually I'll program at least kind of 3 sets of wrap squats, because fuck, if you can't do 3 sets of wrap squats, you're going to have a hard time at comp because you've got to do 3 attempts.
Plus warm up.
Plus a warm up, so that's 4 or 5, depending on what you're warming up to. But so you need to kind of like get used to that, regardless. Like you have to battle through that if it's hard for you. But then I can kind of like chuck in squat volume or squat exposures through sleeve work, safety bar squat, higher bar squats, whatever, something else.
And I think that's pretty much what
it.
We've done with me for the most part. Like I've been someone that has been able to progress my squat on what I guess would clarify as like minimal effective dose, just because I have consistent knee issues. So pretty much every prep besides this one now.
Yeah, I was going to say this one you're hitting a lot
This
more.
one's way more, like triple the volume in wraps that I've ever done, and they're better and easier.
Well, a lot more volume is squatting in general.
We've created but this is where I was going to get to, right? Is like the previous 2 comps as well, is I've also been doing very minimal squat volume as a total.
Yeah. And
so like I would do
just one frequency. Yeah.
One top set of wraps, all my back down during sleeves, like obviously a considerable amount of drop to progress that weight every week. Whereas this prep, due to the fact that we spent my whole off season building the squat volume to the highest it's ever been, like ever since I first started training, and 2 squat exposures a week on top of like accessories, it's now paid off because like my tolerance and my ability to do wrap sets and everything is like through the roof. So previously I've only ever been able to do 1. Now I'm doing all sets in wraps plus warm-ups, and I still have a secondary squat exposure plus all the accessories. Like,
yeah, you got safety bar on a different day, is it?
Safety bar on another day, and then I've also got like pendulum, belt squat, all the good stuff.
Just slamming it. It's good.
But it just goes to show that like building that tolerance up over time, although sometimes it can be hard at the start when you're looking at it and being like, oh, I'm only doing this. Like it does actually.
And typically when you're as a general programming sense, if I am doing say 3 squat exposures for somebody over a week, typically they'll have different intents. As in like one will be like a heavy primary day, which is going to be like singles or doubles or something fucking heavy. Get good at lifting the heavy things. The second day might be sets 5, like a more of a mid-range 75% kind of building range, and then there might be like a high rep day or something. And it would make sense that like you do, if you're a wraps competitor, you do wraps on the heavy day. I don't think it makes any sense that you're doing wraps for the sets of 8. I think you hate yourself if you're doing that.
Yes.
So, I mean, theoretically, you could, but anybody squatting reps in wraps, knows that it's not a fun time.
I did watch someone on Instagram the other day squat 200 for 20-something reps in wraps.
Yeah. I bet you they're not full ball tightness. But
no, I wouldn't imagine so. But I was still like, that's fucking impressive.
Yeah.
It's pretty strong.
yeah, there's a difference to the bodybuilders who are wearing like a light pair for their hack squats or whatever, like to,
Yeah.
support their knees a little bit. But when you got full tightness, doing a set of 8 is really shit because it just that coarseness on your knees, just each rep just kind of like
Fucks
wears
you
it
up.
down a bit.
Slowly eating away.
Yeah, so like if that was the layout of somebody squats over a week, I would wear wraps for the heavy day, get the skill exposure there, and then do the other 2 days in sleeves of a variant. Or if I found that they needed multiple exposures to get better at it, maybe they're new to it and our timeline's a little bit closing in, then maybe you would wear wraps for all of the sets on the heavy day, and then on the secondary day I would do like a top single in wraps followed by like some back down 5s in sleeves or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I'd work it in there at a lower amount.
On the topic of even just introducing wraps in general and things like that, and in terms of programming as well, when you're making the transition, say someone spent their whole off season, they've been doing sleeve, they're about to come into a comp prep or something like that. Say we're around that 15 to 20 week out mark.
Yeah.
At what point do you prefer to transition to wraps? Because I know what I've like, sort of where I'm at and where I like and what I like to do with people who squat with wraps. But where are you?
Newer people a bit earlier.
Yep.
I think that makes sense. The better and better you get at them, the kind of later you can start.
Yep.
So just as a general rule, most people are going to start at around the time that everybody calls the start of comp prep, which is like 12 weeks out. But newer people, maybe like 15. People like myself, I usually more like 8 to 10 weeks out. But it also would come down to the frequency of their squatting as well. Like if they only squat, I've had people that squatted heavy just once every 2 weeks because it really like beats up their shoulders or they've got bad knees or something like that. So we have to program in a maybe not super ideal way. Those people will start further out because the exposure to it is obviously only every couple of weeks rather than one. So like it's a, whereas somebody who was maybe wearing in that previous example, who we had maybe squatting wraps twice a week, maybe they could, that would shorten the skill curve of it as well.
Yep.
So there's a couple of different factors to consider there that will either take or give more time in them. But typically for me, it's, like I said, 8 to 10 weeks out personally. Clients usually more 12 to 15.
Yep. Yeah, sweet.
Is that what you've done for your prep? You've been around something 12
This prep,
weeks?
we started 15 weeks out.
Okay.
And obviously Will does my programming, things like that. And for the comp prep, Will does all of it. And we sort of have a chat every Friday just around things. And I sort of take my ideas, and I'm very fortunate in the fact that I say to Will, this is what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? And he'll either say, let's try it out, or that's fucking
Or
dumb, or I'll take the reins from here,
a lot of my clients are like that. Yeah,
That's all right, mate.
But I'm very fortunate in the fact that Will does give me that opportunity to sort of express my ideas and say, okay, well, I want to try this for me. Like, this is what I want to try, because I tend to find I'm someone who overthinks a lot. And so I'm like, I am someone who needs a little bit more of an exposure. So we were doing high bar. So I stuck with high bar and went to wraps for the first 3 weeks so that I was not changing any other variable but the wraps. So obviously when we go from high bar to low bar, like some things can change around slightly different or wider feet positions, slightly lower on the back, a little bit more hinge.
Was that just one set?
That was the one set. Yeah. So that was the one set of
started
three.
as one
just
set.
One set of 3. But that was the first 3 weeks. So that was literally just no other variable changing but an introduction to wraps.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, nothing changed, and we just went from high bar to low bar. And then we went, so that was 3 sets of 3. And they were all in wraps.
Yep.
So that in itself was interesting, because I remember saying to you and being like, fuck, I've never squatted 3 sets in wraps ever. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. And I'd literally only just hit 240 for a triple high bar the week before. And that was the first time I've ever hit 240 for a triple. And I remember Will going, yeah, cool. So we'll just keep 240. You'll go to low bar. You'll just do 3x3. And I was like,
I remember that.
Yeah, low bar's easy.
I was like,
easier.
Fuck, I just hit this for a triple for the first time ever last week. And now you want me to repeat it 3 times.
Load it up.
Easy.
And I did it. And it was easy.
Yeah.
Because again, like I wasn't changing all of these variables. It was quite literally the bar position just dropped slightly.
Yep.
So I was just changing smaller variables. Pushed that for a couple of weeks, ran a deload, and now we're into doubles and things like that. But yeah, I'm someone who preferences further out.
Yep.
Just to get that skill sort of running
as
from
you
a
go on,
confidence
it might
thing.
change.
As I'm sure as I get more confident in squatting and things like that, it'll probably change. But it's just one of those things that I was like, I've got some time. Why don't I try it out and let's see what we can do?
Yeah, there's no real wrong answer with that. It's
no, I
purely
don't think
confidence.
so either. Yeah, I think it's confidence, but it's also a personal preference.
Yeah,
like I know some people who like squatting in wraps year round.
Yeah,
with not
sadistic.
ever, like never coming out of
Masochist.
wraps. And I'm like, okay, I get you hate yourself, but like, you don't have to. It's okay.
Yeah. No.
So being that of like more a preference, and the person who, you know, you're dealing with to get them in wraps at a certain time is mainly on just how comfortable and confident they feel in the wraps and how good the squat kind of looks. Is that?
I think just like anything, just doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just doing it a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, like at the start, having somebody to wrap you, or to maybe just like this podcast, kind of tell you what to expect, set expectations on it a little bit.
Yeah.
And just talk through it. Will speed up the process a little bit, but at the end of the day, you just have to do it for a little bit, and you just get better at it. So
As with pretty much anything with training.
Yeah, and you get used to the feeling a little bit more. You learn it. It still always hurts, but like you get better at just dealing with that.
Yes,
and then you shut that out a little bit more. It does get a little bit more comfortable. Like your knee skin will kind of callus a little bit, not like a proper callus, but like it'll
bruise the fuck up.
It'll, it just gets that little bit less sensitive. So it'll never not hurt, but like during a prep after the first few weeks, it does get a little bit nicer, and you'll be able to handle more of it. And then each subsequent prep, I'm sure, you know, it'll be a little easier to get your head around it as well. But yeah, you just have to do it. Just have to do it. There's no way around that. The only way to get around it not hurting would be to wrap super soft, and then you won't get anything out of them. So it's just like, you just fucking deal with it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that bridges nicely though into like types of wrapping. Because there's, like, as I said before, 4 different weeks in a row, I had 4 different people wrap me. They all wrapped me slightly different, but it had the exact same effect. Like, there was no real difference. And I think some people can get caught up in like, and I definitely did at the start, in like, it has to be done this way. And that's the only way it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
If someone wraps it the slightest bit different, that's I can't squat that.
Yeah, I've been in both. Like when I was training Zero, Thomas always did it, and he's done it at every comp I've been to, other than that very first one. Even for my overseas ones and everything, he came over and wrapped me there. But and because I trained out of that gym, it used to be like only him can do it. And then maybe some other people in the gym would try, and I'd be like, it's just not the same. So fucking, maybe,
that was me with Henny.
Maybe don't. Yeah. And, and you get reliant on that. And then you kind of you talk yourself into this narrative that like, that's the only way it's good. And then what actually changed for me, the main thing that changed for me was going to America. Because like I got over there, I guess I just hadn't considered it. I got over there and got in my first session, and I remember saying to Jamie, I was like, "Oh, hey man, do you mind like going rolling these wraps up for me? Like just rolling them, so that preparing them to be wrapped." And he's like, "Fuck, you talking about?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Just roll the wrap?" And he's like, "I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I've never used wraps at all." And I was like, "Oh shit!" So like, I had to like roll everyone. I showed him, educated him the way of the wrap. Still not great at it, but did his best. I'll give him that. And then I self-wrapped that entire prep up until the comp day, where Thomas flew over and wrapped me for the comp. But I had to learn, like, because there's no way I had to do the fucking weights, right? So like I had to just like learn to self-wrap and get over that little bit of a stupid narrative that I had myself in, that Thomas had to do it, and then just start wrapping myself. And I got amazingly, I got fucking better at it. The first couple of weeks were kind of and then I got a lot better at it, and I reckon I was 95% as tight and as what Thomas could do on me by the end of it. And I hit PBs for reps and PBs nearly that whole prep. And then, like I said, Thomas flew over on the day. He wrapped a different kind of wrapping method, or whatever you want to call it, a different pattern to me on the day. That's the only one that he did. And like some people again would freak out about that, but at that point I was like, I'd kind of learnt my lesson from wrapping myself, and I'm like, it's just fucking elastic. That's wrapped around my knee, like where if you do the cross at the start or the cross at the end, it does not matter as much as you talk yourself into it. I got over it, and then he wrapped me, and it all went well.
I'm definitely in the same mindset now, especially after that like 4-week block where I was kind of like, it literally does not matter. Like I had Honza wrap me the complete opposite way than I've ever been wrapped in my life. And it was just as tight, if not tighter.
Yeah.
And I still just did the thing.
Yeah, it's the consistency of the tightness around it.
I think it's
the same on each knee. Things
less
like that.
important session to session.
Yeah.
But in session is more important.
Yeah, of course.
Mm.
Like the consistency of the wrapping session. Like I wouldn't go and have 3 different people wrap me in one session.
Yeah.
I'd probably be more likely to have someone be like, okay, you can do, like you'll do all my
get
wraps
better at
today.
that too.
Yeah, of course.
Like in
you
my
probably
last
do.
Pro Raw prep, I would wrap myself for everything but the top set, and then Thomas would wrap me for the top set only.
Yeah, but see, that's consistently. Like you're still doing that. I'm saying like you wouldn't have like one person come do your first warm up and then someone else comes and does the second, and then like your top set's someone different entirely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that would throw you off. But again, probably more mental.
Definitely a mental thing.
Assuming everybody is good at wrapping in that scenario. But yeah, I don't think it matters too much. I don't think there's one pattern that's better than others. Other people go like, you have to tie it off this way, and other people like tying it off, waste the wrap. You have to tuck it under. I don't think any of that fucking shit matters.
I honestly just love when people pull the pliers out.
Yeah.
That's my favourite. When I'm in a comp and some dude's whipped out the toolkit and he's got his pliers ready to wrap himself, and I'm like,
that's full.
I fucking love that.
Yeah.
Save your elbows a bit of work though.
No, so they just hold the pliers.
No, it's just tie it off at the end.
So it's to tie it off at the end.
So rather than doing the knot
so instead of us doing the knot, they'll hold the pliers. So when we hold at the start, and then someone wraps and then tie it up.
That's the business.
They use pliers and then they'll put it under and like pull up underneath the wrap.
Right.
And it's just a different way to tie it off. It's
saves a little bit. You could argue that you could get slightly more, but fuck, if 1 centimeter of wrap is undoing your squat, I don't know. I don't think it matters. I've never noticed a difference in that tiny bit more.
Yeah.
But I think find a wrap to wrap it up. Like if jeez, I didn't even mean to say that, but there you go.
Wow.
To wrap it up, I think if you're going to get into knee wraps, you're going to start utilizing them for training, or you want to start learning.
You can't if you're my client.
Pick a pair that is a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more stretchy, a little bit more, just nicer material, more knee skin friendly material. Start learning that. Get somebody else to show you the ropes if there is somebody around. If not, like there's fucking powerlifting gyms in every city, so go drive a little bit to find somebody to teach you.
Get someone like me to wrap your knees for you.
And then
don't do that.
And then or watch tutorials online.
Opt out.
Yeah. And then just practice for a bit and just commit to it. I don't think there's just find a consistent way to wrap that you're comfortable with and that you're going to be the same every session and just get going.
But if you are on the Gold Coast, we actually have a container full of wraps. If you'd like to come and try them out and have our gym manager Alex wrap you, or any of the boys, if any of the time we're in, come and join our gym and use our wraps.
We do have the
and our equipment.
Wrap. I was about to say the wrap graveyard, but it's not really great. Some of them are completely new.
There's some brand new.
Yeah. They're like I opened one and it's still got a tag on it.
Lifters over the years,
just donating
wraps that they didn't
still feel hard as rocks.
Yeah, but we've got heaps of them.
Yeah, just come down and use them if you're on the Gold
Come
Coast.
learn how to wrap.
There's gyms in every city. You have no excuse. Go and get somebody to teach you, show you the ropes, and then just practice. It does get a little bit easier. Just like
even on that, just if you are too far away from a powerlifting gym, practice on yourself, practice on a mate. If you start doing that, the better I've gotten at wrapping Flick, because she's the only person I wrap. I've wrapped Ricardo a couple of times as well. Better I've gotten at wrapping her, the better I was at self-wrapping myself when I came back to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you just know.
Yeah, there's a technique to it. Yeah, you
learn
to consistently put apply the how to hold the wrap, how to do all these little things. But it's something that you just learn with time.
Just to add to that as well, I believe Flick did say that I am the better rapper out of us two.
That's only because she had to rely on you, so she was making you feel better.
That makes sense. Still got it done.
I believe her.
Still cook my elbows.
That's fine. You've got it. She's doing Christmas Cup as well.
Oh, that's a shame.
You can wrap her.
No, I
think her and Nick. Perfect. Thanks, man. That's so nice.
We'll see how we go.
All right, we'll leave it there. Any wrap questions, send them in.
Yep.
Happy to answer them.
Wrap it up.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Fucking hell.
Thank you for listening to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. Be sure to jump on our website to find details on everything mentioned in the podcast today. plus information on our coaching, mentoring, and gyms based in the Gold Coast and Townsville. Make sure you follow us on our Instagram for any updates on what we are currently doing, and we'll see you all in the next episode.